Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Making It Personal is provided by Sarah Vocations Ministry. Learn more at joinserra.org.
Making It Personal with Bishop William Joensen on Iowa Catholic Radio and iowacatholicradio.com.
Welcome to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. I'm Jean Till, and we are on the road at the National Eucharistic Congress, and we've rounded up some of our own local folks.
It's marvelous. We have a great contingent from the Des Moines Diocese here. Probably we know of 250, but I'll bet there's another 100 people or so who are part of this, and we keep crossing paths as we take part in so many of the offerings here that are feeding our souls and our minds as well. We just came and concluded. We're here in the upper reaches of Lucas Oil Stadium. The Indianapolis Colts are not practicing or playing today, and the Olympic trials are over as well. But so it's the Holy Spirit that's been animating all that we're about, including an encounter session where we had Father Matthias Thielen, Dr. Marianne Healy, talking about the ways in which God desires to heal us in every part of our being as well. But we may not focus on that because we've got some great people with us from the diocese. We've got Paul and Colleen Talkey from DeSoto, St. John and Dale Parish. We're going to start with them, and then we've got the Nye family, Shannon, Samantha, and Alexandra, and we're hearing from them also. So from St. Patrick Neola Parish. So beautiful. So I know God softened me right away the first night with the adoration. You know, the tears start flowing. And it's just like, you're here, Lord, and we've been waiting for this. So it moves me to talk about it. But Paul and Colleen, just thank you for coming. What sparked your desire to even be part of this historic event? Let's go ahead.
Well, we got a text and a call that said there were tickets available from the parish. And I looked at my husband and said, "Are we going?" And he said,
I said yes. Although, to be honest, she was contemplating and sort of dropping hints along the way that this conference was going on and that it would sure be nice to go. So when the parish called, it was just sort of like God saying, "Hey, I want you to attend this." So here we are.
Eucharist isn't new to you guys because you participated in last year's Eucharistic procession because we walked together.
Yes.
We prayed the rosary together.
Yeah. So the one in Des Moines?
The one in Des Moines, yes.
Thank you for coming over. So before we take our break, let's go over to the Nyes real quick here. We're doing all right there? Yeah. So just again, Alexandra, Samantha, was this your mom's idea or was this something that you guys were interested in?
Mom was definitely the one that introduced it in the first place, but we kind of decided that we wanted to come along too to see what it was like because I went to NCYC and I enjoyed it.
And that was the one here in Indianapolis?
Yep.
Or so you've been here. You've been on site. You've seen what can happen when Catholics get together.
Yeah. I was moved by NCYC, so I thought this would be a fun time and an honor to be a part of.
Wait a minute. Catholics can have fun together too? Really? This doesn't have to be serious in any way? No. And for you?
I'm going to NCYC next year, so I thought it would help prepare me for that.
Okay. So good. So to encounter the Lord and Jesus and to know that we're not alone if we're Catholic. That's right. Good. And your mom, she was up for it too?
Yeah.
Shannon? Yeah.
Last year at NCYC really was very moving. And when I heard about this, our world is so broken. They've been talking about it in all of our sessions, how broken our world is. And this was just an honor to be a part of this at this time in our life, to pray for our world and our country especially.
Yeah.
So just to be able to be part of the procession, to walk Jesus through our country and our hope.
Amen. And you know that, yes, we see things as they are, but we're not doomsayers. We don't say the sky is falling because our hope is in the Lord who's already won the victory and delivered us in so many ways. He wants to be with us, to help us be people passing on to the Father and to carry others with us and draw others by our joy and our love for so many ways. You know, I know, Samantha, we serve Mass together. So we've been at Eucharist a lot of times together already, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're really good. You're on top of, you're always one who's in charge of things. So in a very good way. Alexandra, what do you like about the Mass at St. Patrick's? And we got about 20 seconds here. So hold it up there.
I really like the people there. There are a bunch of nice people. I love our priest. And
Father Julius Edemy. Yeah. Okay. All right. And he's here too, right? Somewhere. Who knows right now, but very good. Well, if you'll be willing to be with us, we're going to just pause for a little bit and then we'll come back and maybe hear about some of the experiences you've had so far.
Well, we are going to take that quick break, and when we return, we'll continue visiting with the Talkey and the Nye family here at the National Eucharistic Congress. You're listening to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen on Iowa Catholic Radio Network and the Spirit Catholic Radio Network.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio is provided by Farm Bureau agent Cindy Schulte. Life insurance can help protect your family. It's your future that's protected. CindySchulte.com. Cindy's phone number is 515-226-2111.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio comes from independent realtor Chris Foster. Chris has served clients with everything real estate throughout Iowa since 2019. 641-891-8178 or online at the number 4 saleia.com.
Support for programming provided by Trappist Caskets, a work of the monks of New Mallory Abbey in Peosta, Iowa. Embracing an honest approach to death can more readily affirm the real meaning of life. Trappist caskets and urns are made in the prayerful environment of the monastery using Iowa-grown wood from the Abbey's sustainable forest. Each casket and urn is blessed by a monk. Quietly laboring with their hands for 175 years, the monks offer workmanship at the pinnacle of woodworker's craft. Available for immediate delivery or as a part of a pre-planning program. Learn more at TrappistCaskets.com.
Welcome back to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. And on today's show, we are on the road at the National Eucharistic Congress, talking to folks from our own diocese here about their experiences, the Talkie family and the Nye family.
And we know this is airing a few days, but the Spirit has continued reverberating, and the experiences that we're having, and Colleen and Paul. Colleen, you sharing again that you're kind of a master quilter who's taught and done public. What has God been drawing together? What kind of what's some of the patches of experiences that you've had so far?
He's given me a job that actually reaches worldwide. And through the internet, I can teach people from France to Australia to Bolivia to Indonesia.
Wow.
And, we all have one thing in common. We all love art and an expression of love. And the pieces that we put together with our hands creates that love.
Marvelous.
And we can express it in so many different ways through so many different cultures. Even though there's a language barrier, it all is rooted in that. Okay. Creating something for another.
Beautiful. Formidable. Okay. So, but how then maybe is that kind of analogous to what's happening here at the National Eucharistic Congress? The love, the art, we've got fabulous musicians, letting our praise loose and things. Tony Melendez was praying, playing for us, the famous, with his feet on the guitar. What kind of things have been kind of coming together for you?
Just as you walk around from one place to the other, or sit down to take a break, you talk to the person next to you and find out where they're from. And God makes the most amazing connections. We sat down to eat have a break, and the person across the table used to go to St. Francis of Assisi in West Des Moines, but now lives in Columbia, Missouri.
Okay.
But was born 30 minutes from my hometown in North Central Iowa. So God weaves together all those fibers and makes those connections. And then you start talking about your journey, your family, your kids, and you realize we all have the same thing in common. We're all looking for that love, that connection.
Wow. So we had the 4 national pilgrimages converging in Indianapolis in that way. But this is a pilgrimage that's been happening with, more than 50,000 paths that people are now coming together in that beautiful way. So things are happening outside even the planned sessions that are of the Spirit and not even 6 degrees removed. Paul, how about for you? What are maybe some things that have already kind of touched your heart?
Yeah, I think a couple of things that really touched me while we've been here. One is the Eucharistic adoration that we enjoyed. The masses have been beautiful. Father Mike Schmitz, when he talked last night, one of the things that struck me, and I don't know if I'll get the quote right, but knowledge is good, but love makes you a saint. And that really struck me because I'm a big knowledge guy.
I hear you, brother.
Library about 150 plus Catholic books, and so I think the love part is really important. And as we've been sitting through the sessions, I've been thinking about kind of where do we go from here? Where do we take this experience? We had both done various things at our parish, from being lectors to helping with RCIA to being confirmation instructors, especially when our kids were going through, and then for a while afterwards. So, the challenge is, how do you take this experience and share it with others? Jean had mentioned that I worked with her husband, John, and I work, where I work, I seem to be surrounded by former Catholics or lapsed Catholics.
Mm-hmm.
And just this discussion about, I'm going on vacation. Where are you going? You going to like Cancun, or you going to, the Rocky Mountains? Oh, I'm going to the National Eucharistic Conference. What's that? So just trying to think about how we can use this experience in our parish and in our diocese, and how we can help, kind of share that love that you bring from the Eucharist with people, especially people who have been Catholic and have kind of left the church. How can we help bring them back?
Mm-hmm.
So
and as Father Matthias, healing wounds. Maybe some people have been wounded by the church. There is a member of our Doyen contingent who was sharing with me, not from the confessional so much, but just what he's experienced here is healing some of his wounds, the bruises of the church, and just being close to the church. So, who knows how you do that? And how is our phrase that we're going to have? It's not walk with one, but invite one. Calling people from this point forward to just even invite one person. Consider again this great adventure and mystery of living our Catholic faith. So it sounds like you have lots of opportunities, Paul, where you're at.
I always remind people when they say, I used to be Catholic, I say, you can always come back.
Yeah. We kind of joked among some of us clergy, that the church is kind of like the Hotel California. You can check out, but you can never leave. So, sorry, young ladies. It's not a song that probably speaks to you of the Eagles. So it's time to come back to the Knives here as well. So, Shannon, maybe we'd start with you if we could. Yeah, just something for you. And you're a great woman of faith, and obviously trying to spark that for young people too. So,
Yeah, it was very moving. We went to the youth group session, and Oscar Rivera and Jessica Angel just had the kids in tears, and they had me in tears. They spoke well, and it's just
because they shared a story of tragedy.
They were sharing
tears of laughter.
It was tears of like forgiveness. No matter where you're at, don't forget that you can't. You can have all the money in the world, all the celebrity status. You always feel something's missing. And they used Tom Brady as a good example. He won the Super Bowl. He was married to a model, had all this money, and he still felt empty. And they were talking about when you feel empty and you have all this, you're missing God. He's the only thing that can fill you. And both of them hit on that. And it was just so beautiful and moving. And it just made you cry because it was just so, he does love us that much. And he did this for us. So it's such an honor to even be here, to be a part of this.
So the moms can piggyback with their daughters and kind of experience this too. And it speaks to you, even though, you still very much grafted with the church and everything that's there. Anything else that is kind of, before we turn it over to your daughters here that,
I just, they've talked about when you had mentioned adoration the first night when all four corners converged. It was breathtaking. There are no words to describe the feeling. And they said, he is here. And you got goosebumps and the whole room just was silent. And you just
50,000 people, you couldn't hear a pin drop.
Not a pin drop. Yeah. And it was just tears. You could hear sniffing, and just the excitement was goosebumps. That's all I can say is goosebumps.
Yeah, and Bishop Andrew Cousins of Crookston, who's kind of shepherded this whole movement, obviously with a cast of thousands, collaborating. But his reflection was so powerful and compelling.
So beautiful.
So good. Well, let's kind of hear. Your mom was just sharing something, but was that your experience, or maybe there was something else that you'd like to add too to kind of complement that?
I thought the talk with the nun last night about the kids with the host, I thought that was really moving. That made me cry.
Okay, so Mother Olga kind of speaking, and she's ministry, it seems like, in the greater Boston area and all that she did. Yeah,
that was really moving. And I liked the musical showcase with St. Bernadette that they played. That was moving too. I really liked that one.
Okay, for some of us, it was a little bit like Les Miserables, but turned into sort of Bernadette of Lourdes, right? Yeah. And, I don't know if they're French Canadian or French, but it was powerful, right? And some of our Des Moines contingent, I'm sorry we didn't get you into the front few rows, but they gave us a special invitation because they know there's going to be a prelude in 2026. They're coming to the Diocese of Des Moines. So stay tuned, all right? We're going to make sure we get you really front good seats next time when they're here. But that was just, again, the arts and all that's about that. So, yeah. So Mother Olga was talking about the power of the Eucharist as she goes to visit the hospital, a young child in the NICU, survived, and she brought the Blessed Sacrament just to touch day in, day out. So good. Yeah. Alexander, were those the same things for you, or is there something else?
There was a talk yesterday down over at the convention center, and it was Paul J. Kim, and he was talking about how he has a perfect wife, and they still can't complete each other perfectly, and that there's always going to be something missing, and that thing is God.
Now, wait a minute. Was his wife there to hear this? I mean, you should say, I'm sorry. You're...
Sure.
I'm teasing you. So.
Yeah, but I thought that was, really touching, and knowing that you can't, be complete, with two perfect people.
Mm-hmm. That there's something more that our hearts are longing for, but that other maybe person that we lay down our lives is that person, is that path for that. So you're how old, Alexandra? 12. Are you thinking about marriage already? No, are you thinking about possible, what a vocation to be a wife and a mom would be like?
Yeah, kind of. And then thinking about, what it would be like to, have a child.
Uh-huh, yeah. I think that's very beautiful and very natural, right? And that's what we want young people to think, that who I am and this gift I have to give myself to another person in love, that this is more than just simply about fulfillment myself, right? But that it's about a vocation that will build up the world and bring the kingdom to bear. So I know I'm getting kind of heavy and intense here, but I think that's the seeds of it for you. And I'm glad Mr. Kim kind of gave you a glimpse of that, huh? So he didn't seem like a typical guy, right? He seemed like he had something that he understood. Yeah. So, and his wife is blessed in that as well. All right. Have you been able to hang out with other young people very much? Or, because we got people of all ages here, right? We got people born 2 months ago and people who are 92 making their way around. Yeah. You know what? I think I'm going to have to pause here. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Very good. I'm sorry. You're getting my signals with Jean here. She called, and I thought I was calling an audible here, but anyway. All right. Omaha. All right.
I've got to talk to a couple kids from around and see what other Catholic youths are like and stuff. So it's been nice to get to know some new people and stuff like that.
Yeah. Tremendous. Good. Is there anything that maybe, kind of surprised you or made you uncomfortable or anything like that? They're like, I'm going to have to kind of process this a little bit here. I'm not sure.
I think there's a lot that, you still have to kind of process. Nothing really made me uncomfortable. But last night when Father Mike Schmidt was talking about when the priest raises up the body and blood, that it's him giving it up. I kind of had to think about that and realize it. And now today during Mass, I looked at it different than I normally had.
Yeah. So he kind of emphasized, the incarnation, Jesus becoming human, but then that in this moment of sacrifice and how the Mass, Jesus becomes present, but then is to be offered to the Father and that doxology moment through him, with him, and in him as part of that. I appreciate the description of the Eucharist once that the Eucharist is the ongoing relationship between Jesus and his Father. And we get drawn into that space, that sacred relationship between them in that way. So wonderful. So good. Now the Mass will never seem the same for you. That's worth the road trip, right? In itself. All right. Very good. So, all right. So let's come back to we got a few moments with the talkies here too. I don't often get into, the praise, but once in a while I kind of need to let the praise loose as well. Is that something, with our Midwestern Germanic sensibilities that you can go there?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. As I told you, I'm originally from Dubuque County. I'm from a long line of German Catholics who actually, I think, donated land for the New Vienna Church back in the day.
Oh, marvelous.
But
St. Boniface,
while they were,
the envy of Iowa,
yes,
New Vienna. Okay.
great people. The praise thing, the jumping up and down, the raising your hands, that's hard for me. I'm just going to say it. It's difficult. I love Jesus. I love the Eucharist. But the praise thing doesn't come natural. Okay. Now let's hear from an Irish Catholic.
An Irish Catholic, probably not so much either.
What was your maiden name?
Comiskey. Okay. So it's probably not my big comfort zone either, but yet I love music. So I remember one of my children, when I was singing nursery rhymes, like backing up, putting his hand over my mouth and saying, "No, sing, Mommy."
Wow.
I love to sing. I'm glad a lot of people are singing because that way if I'm off, it's not the end of the world. So,
but Catholics can sing, right?
Yes, they can. They just have to get the right music director like at St. John's. Sing anyway.
Yeah, and I appreciate that on the board they're flashing the lyrics to things because, sometimes I can make it out, sometimes I need a little help. So, we need a little help from our sponsors here, including the Sarah Club of Des Moines, who sponsors vocations and prayers for diaconate, religious life, and the priesthood. So, all of which are in evidence in strong ways. So,
I'm not going to let these people leave us.
All right. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Oh.
So stay with us as well as we are on the road with Bishop Joensen, making it personal here at the National Eucharistic Congress in Indianapolis. You're listening to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen on the Iowa Catholic Radio Network and the Spirit Catholic Radio Network.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio provided by the Sarah Vocations Ministry, including the St. Sarah Club of Des Moines and the Sarah Club of Council Bluffs. Sarah is an apostolate of the Worldwide Catholic Church dedicated to fostering and supporting priesthood and religious vocations. Sarahans strive to accomplish their mission through prayer, fellowship, and service to the bishop, priests, sisters, and all in religious formation, and in doing so to increase their own holiness. Learn more at joinsarah.org, joinserra.org. Thank you, Sarahans, for your support of Iowa Catholic Radio.
At Intervisions Healthcare, we see patients with unplanned pregnancies from ages 12 to 43. An unplanned pregnancy is traumatic at any age. For that reason, we specialize in educating, encouraging, and empowering vulnerable and at-risk mothers facing an unexpected pregnancy with the medical information and services necessary for them to make an informed decision. For more information on the free medical services at Intervisions Healthcare or to support our mission or become a volunteer, visit ivhcare.org.
Welcome back to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen.
Well, and Jean, I've been with the Knives and the Talkies, but you're experiencing all this with your husband, John, and in so many ways, and a great woman of faith and love the Eucharist. I mean, I think we kind of grafted at adoration every Monday, when I'm here, and you read and off those reflections, and it's obviously coming from a heart that's deeply in love with this mystery of our Eucharistic Lord. Anything so far? And again, we've got 2 big days left, until the big procession through the streets of Indianapolis. That it says it's a mile plus long route. I think it's going to be filled with people for a mile.
It's a mile plus back.
Yeah, well, for some. The bishops can be spoiled, but I'll try not to avail. You can have my spot on the shuttle. Jean, anything for you?
The thing that struck me is that these testimonies, these witnesses that folks are giving, happen to all of us. But their hearts and their minds are attuned to the things, and they're recognizing that they're from God. And so, we rather than saying, "Oh boy, was I lucky today," no, God blessed you today. And so if we think of those things, of what's happening in our lives, we could be giving those testimonies. We can be giving those witnesses once we recognize and can articulate then what God has done for us. Yeah. So, what God has done for us. And I think that's when you participate in these things. When, we were over at Imogene and Shenandoah, you have an opportunity to be there, be in the trenches, so to say, and so then you can come back. Oh, what'd you do this weekend? Where'd you go on vacation? Right, Paul?
Yeah.
And it's like, I went to, this walk.
And I think that's a theme that's cutting across many of the speakers is that, God knows you. God, you are not an accident. God has a plan for you. But then God wants to enlist you too. You don't have to have some advanced degree of theology. Sorry, Paul, with your 100 and some books, on things on Catholic and everything else, but that he endows us with what we need to be his witnesses, to be evangelists in our own right, to go out and take this to others as well. So,
and some need the knowledge. Some need just the witness, the experience. So we're, like the Gospels say, we're all called with different charisms and different gifts. And so we have to embrace those and use those.
Yeah, and that would be my friendly coda to Father Mike Schmitz is that, knowledge fuels the love, and love should fuel our desire for more knowledge, to know him as well. And so we've got just about 40 seconds left. Samantha, do you think, as you go back to your school at Underwood and everything else, this is something you'll be able to talk about?
I think I'll be able to talk about it with most of my friends. Most of my friends are pretty religious. Around Underwood, there's a lot of kids. They'll bring out their Bible and they'll be making annotations in it. And it's really moving to see kids that are engaging in their faith like that.
Wonderful. Wow, you are a beautiful bearer of the gospel. So thank you, Samantha, Alexandra, and Shannon, Colleen, and Paul, for what you have. May God continue to overflow your lap with these next few days. And back in Des Moines, how much is going to bear the fruit of what we're experiencing here?
Well, and Bishop, we haven't gotten to ask you, what has touched your heart? I mean, you've been at the center of these masses, celebrating Mass with all those bishops and the cardinals.
There is that sense of the successors to the apostles, and it's so humbling, but that, the solidarity with our brother bishops, and it's not, clericalism, I don't think. These are men who, it's not an easy yoke. I mean, just like being a parent is not an easy yoke, but the humility that they bear, they love the church, and they love the Holy Father. And so I think it's a sense of that early church is coming alive again, and just to be one of those witnesses and successors, of those ordinary men that we are, right? But God has raised us to something and given us a special share in his mission to be shepherds and to accompany his people, as Pope Francis says, sometimes from the front, sometimes from behind, but like these few sacred days with the body of Christ.
Beautiful. Well, this has been another episode of Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen, and we are on the road at the National Eucharistic Congress. Thanks to all of our guests and all of our listeners in Iowa, Nebraska, Wisconsin, or wherever you may be listening, perhaps Indianapolis, to the Iowa Catholic Radio Network and the Spirit Catholic Radio Network.
You can hear Making It Personal with Bishop William Joensen every week on Iowa Catholic Radio and iowacatholicradio.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Making It Personal is provided by Sarah Vocations Ministry. Learn more at joinserra.org.